So this is the Design Review Board meeting for September 23rd. And we're discussing on Zoom, basically. So instead of our public meetings, which normally are in a conference room, and because of COVID, we are on Zoom. It's 4:11 o'clock. We are discussing signage for 386 Main Street. We have been, as chair, I've been in contact with the applicant to discuss what's before us, and off and on, basically been getting material. So Casey, if you would start as the client here. Oh, I should mention also that there seems to be some issue with the landlord, basically, because, and I know we've run into this before with at zoning board, basically, and even signage, this group in the past, where they like to approve everything before it comes before us. So she's a stickler, basically, about this. And so for whatever reason, basically, she's coming late to the party. So at this point, I think they may end up back before us, depending on what the decision is today.
Yeah, we're hoping not, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to discuss with the landlord everything. She's been so busy, and it's been hard to get in contact.
Well, I think her issues have been when one side comes down, that basically they don't see a shadow left from a previous sign type of thing. So if that shadow shows up, then you'll be responsible basically to paint or do something else to cover that shadow.
Okay.
If your sign was exactly the same size and sit right over it, then you probably don't get any shadow. But if your sign is different in a different dimension, basically, that generates a shadow, then she's going to have you do something about it.
Okay.
I don't know what other restrictions she might have or things she might have in mind, but I know that's one of the issues that's come up with them in the past. They don't want to repaint the whole face, basically, for one sign is their problem.
Yeah.
So anyways, the shop is Cuppy Cake?
Copy cakes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So you want to explain a little bit about the business, and then we can get into the signage if you would. Remember, we've got to get offline here by 5 o'clock.
I'm sorry?
Jim, can I get the attendee names, the applicant?
Yeah, it's
Meeting minutes?
yeah, Gail Conway, of course. All right.
Conroy, yep.
Yeah.
Roy.
Jeff Steichman, of course.
Yeah, I just need the
Bob
applicants.
Burnett.
That's what
And
they do.
Casey Clark. And me, yeah.
There's two others, I think, with the applicant. Do we?
Yep. Mackenzie Coppinger, she's my business partner.
Okay.
And then Jennifer.
Corvino with signage, SIGNEDGE.
What was your last?
Oh,
Corvino, COR.
Great.
Yeah, you know.
Thank you.
So this process, just to sort of, since you're new to it, and a little bit more at this point, this process, basically, there are certain sections of town which have a bylaw, basically, that restricts what can be done in certain sections of town. This came into effect in 2010. And so we've been following it since then. And there are other sections of town which this doesn't apply, but so it's mostly the business district, which is downtown here and then down in Greenwood and then down towards the Melrose border, basically. And there were restrictions basically on wall signs. There were restrictions on window signs, hanging signs, and a bunch of others, basically. But we're only interested in this particular case for window signs and wall signs. So if you would sort of talk a little bit about the business and then take us through the signage, if you would, that would be good.
Awesome. Okay, so it's Copy Cakes, and we do custom cakes, cookies, pastries, and we're gonna have like a little case for people to walk in and to be able to get, day-to-day store cakes, but we're really gonna do really custom cake orders, the grand like sculpted cakes, things like that, wedding cakes, but basically just cakes, cupcakes, and cookies will be our main focus. We'll have some cookies, a couple pastries, like half moons or whoopie pies, things like that, cake pops. So if we want to go through the signs, I don't know if everybody's going to be able to see. This is the sign that we would want to go up at the top on the wall. And this is 14.9 square feet. It's going to be 28 inches by 76 inches. And I believe the window is what it is.
No, don't do
No, stay with that sign for a moment.
Okay.
So talk about this sign and the lettering. It's raised lettering.
that.
It's,
Want me to do that?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so it has raised lettering,
yeah.
raised PVC lettering,
How
and
thick, how thick is it?
half-inch thick,
Okay,
okay? And the lettering underneath on the tagline is black vinyl applied to the face.
all right. And the background is white.
The background's white, and
Okay.
it's not gonna be shiny. It won't be look like
It'd be matted.
tinny.
Yeah.
Matte,
It's
okay.
gonna look just like a wood sign.
And it has a frame, well,
It's gonna have interior frame work, 1-inch thick metal, welded framework in the back. It's a pan sign, aluminum pan sign. So it's thick like a piece of wood,
and
just like the one next door, actually, I think.
I wouldn't necessarily go with the one next door, but that's okay.
Well, it's a pan.
What's the height of the maximum height of the lettering?
Well, the C is 14 inches.
Okay.
I
all right.
know that, but it's cursive writing, and the other letters are 7 inches on the lowercase.
All right,
And on the tagline, it's a 3-inch tall A.
okay. So you're in compliance, since you're 15 square feet, all right?
Okay.
And your lettering is a maximum of 14 inches. That's also in compliance, all right? And the decoration that's on there, the cupcake,
Yeah.
That's our
Okay.
logo.
is that standing off or is that just a piece of vinyl sitting on the surface?
We
What is
can
it?
stand it off. That's what we would like to do, but it's gonna have vinyl on the face.
Okay, I'd say the more definition you can get out of this, the better, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And having that cupcake stand off, although I'm not sure in the photographs I have. Can you show that picture again?
Yeah, this-
Yeah, the most recent one. Yeah,
You lose the cupcake because it's
yes.
not outlined or something else. I mean, if the
It is, it's in her light purple though,
Oh,
her
yeah.
color.
It's in our store colors.
yeah,
Can you see it on any of the other ones?
I see it, but it's, because you're on a white background, it's sort of like it
Yes, we'll
disappears. It's unfortunate that it disappears as much as it does.
Yeah, can we pull out this?
Jeff, you any thoughts?
This is the color right here,
I don't,
right?
I can show you. We
Jeff,
have
you're
painted our walls
Jeff,
and
you're
everything.
muted.
It's,
Jeff,
I think the sketch is
That's fine.
muted. Yes, I agree.
you're muted again, Jeff.
Oh, the
I'm
voice?
not, yeah, I was like, wait, am I
Was
muted?
doing it temporarily.
All right, speak, Jeff.
Well, I agree that it might get lost if it's just printed, and even if it's raised, but
It's not printed. It would have vinyl probably on the face of the raised piece.
right.
So the vinyl, it has a little more pop, I think, than what's on the printed page from the laser printer.
Sure.
Is
That, you know,
is there any way of giving it like a shadow line that might help push it out?
Or could you reverse the colors so that everything is that sort of muted purple color and the lines are white?
Well, that's our logo. So we have that on all our
Where's
boxes,
the
all our magnets, and
Oh, I have it
stickers and
right there.
everything. So it's already like a printed
No.
logo on our,
I mean, it either means changing the background color
but I
or,
don't know if you can see this, but these are our stickers and
No,
it's
it's-
definitely, you
Yep.
can definitely see it on white.
Yep.
It's a little more,
Yep.
I think maybe just the picture and on the piece of paper is a little hard to see. But
or you think if it was bumped up, we can bump the color up to black or like this?
well, I think you graphically, you gotta find some, oh, nice.
Yep.
I think you gotta find something that will really push it off the page.
Jim, can they make the dragonfly three-dimensional?
Well, that's interesting. Possibly. I mean, the
That
more
might-
dimension they give this, the better, I think, for the sign itself.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
'cause I-
interesting. I like the idea. I just don't know how long it'll stay there. I mean, we can try. It's a thin body on that
Yeah,
bug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I don't want to get into designing.
it's already thin coming off the shape. You know what I mean? I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gonna stand out. It has like a 1/2 inch thickness, and it's gonna have like a shadow from the thickness of the letter, of the actual material. You know what I mean?
Well, what we try to do, I mean, we can't really sort of dictate design, all right? But at the same time, we're trying to, from the forest before the woods appearance, all right, is we're trying to sort of say, you know, is there a way of making this better? I mean, you guys live with it all the time, so after a while, you sort of like just accept it. We look at it and say, can you make it better? Is there a way of making it stand out? Now, whether you do that or not is really not so much up to us.
Right.
I will tell you that the new code, when it does come out, and it's stopped right now because of the situation we're all in, the new code would actually give you bonus points for being graphically more, you know, positive, basically, with the thing looks, and you could get a bigger sign, basically, with spun up graphics. But that's not in place right now. So the only thing we can do is make suggestions. We're quite frankly, all three of us are architects, so we sort of look at these with the graphics and architecture in mind, and saying, you know, how can you make this better? And I understand corporate sort of imagery, and you don't want to screw around with it. But in this case, there is a way maybe of having it stand out a little bit more to have it show off. You also got, unfortunately, you've got a tree in front of you too. So
Yeah.
it's got leaves on it.
Yeah.
And
If
Oh,
I can
no,
just
that-
offer a thought, I can tell you my first thought would be to triple the scale of the cupcake and put it behind Coffee Cakes, so Coffee Cakes ran over the vertical lines in the cupcake, and the lines would get 3 times as thick, and the dragonfly would be 3 times as big. But I don't know what that does, or if that violates any sort of corporate, graphic standards that you might have. But if Coffee Cakes,
do it.
the actual lettering were in
Then,
front.
then that, under that, the cupcake would be flat against the background, and the Coffee Cakes lettering would be the raised. Is that what you're implying?
That's one way of doing it, sure. I
Yeah.
mean, you could have thickness to each of them. If the Coffee Cakes were twice as thick as the other, one thing is no depth, and it's just a graphic. Then you have Coffee Cakes has thickness, and the logo is vinyl applied to the backboard. The third option.
no.
would be-
The logo, the
No, I'm saying that-
logo, yeah, the logo is vinyl, but it's applied to a 1/2 inch.
Right. I was
raised
giving
cupcake, yeah.
you 3 options. So if the logo is a 1/2 inch or whatever thick standing on the background,
Yeah,
then if you wanted Coffee Cakes to go across it, it would either be the same dimension, or I think better would be to be twice as deep, so that you have the shadow of the Coffee Cakes on the logo, and the logo itself casts a shadow. You have 3 depths. 0 is the back, 1 is the cupcake, and 2 is the language that goes across it. But that's, as Jim said, we can't do anything other than suggest. Our intent is to make it so it works for you. It's big enough for people to see it. Right now, if it's just a little accent, that's fine. But if you're hoping that people will see the cupcake, I don't know they're going to see it very much. They'll certainly see the signage that says Coffee Cakes. But I'm just saying, I would be happy if you tripled the size of the thing, which is probably not what you're expecting to hear today. But I think there's a couple ways to approach it if you
all
want
right.
to do that. So, but you don't have to do it, and I can't require it. I'm just throwing out an idea.
I know that. Can we revisit it? So now, can we revisit that thought after we discuss the
The
window
windows?
graphics? Because she has the big graphic on the window too of the cupcake. So it's like,
We didn't really want to be redundant
I
with
don't
our
know.
logo. We didn't want to just have our logo everywhere.
That's fine.
and yes,
For you, right? So,
you know, I can create anything, of course. Signs is, you know, you start from scratch and you can make whatever you want.
sure.
But it would take a little doing to layer it up like that. It can be done. I
Right.
love the idea of a 3D dragonfly. I just think at that little size, it's a tad fragile. That's all. Because
Yeah,
if I mold it out of something and attach it, it's small. But we could do it. I just don't know how long it would last outside near that tree. I'm not sure.
all right. So anything else, Bob? Any comment?
No, I understand it's it's a very delicate piece to try to make 3D. I like Jeff's idea of making the cupcake bigger. And again, they're just suggestions. It has nothing to do with approval. And the reason we started talking about it is just because the coffee cakes reads so well from a distance and the cupcake disappears. And if it was logo,
That was sort of
we were
where,
just thinking maybe, we could do something. So,
Yeah, I completely understand what you're suggesting.
but it's completely your call too. So,
Okay.
but yeah, no, I don't have any further comment or suggestion.
Jeff, put that back up.
it's just the scale of it. That's, oh, where is it? There it is. So I'm saying you could take the same logo and, maybe the cupcake is on the back and the dragonfly now bigger is easier to make. So it's just coffee cakes and the dragonfly that are 3D and the cupcakes on the back.
I wonder if that, though, at that scale, I wonder if the whole sign gets too busy and you start to lose the cupcake lettering,
Yeah, that's,
So let's move on, but
Okay.
let me say this, all right? First off, the sign is compliant, right? As you submitted, it's compliant, all right? It's 15 square feet. The lettering, basically height, is compliant. So that's sort of a no-brainer as far as meeting the requirements. If you decide to change what you're submitting, it's got to come back here. Even if we made suggestions, if you're going to change it, basically you need to come back and talk to us and give us a copy of what you're going to do. All right.
Okay.
Otherwise, you stay with what you've got. That's
Okay.
all right. So what happens here at the end of this is we vote basically to make a recommendation. We cannot approve or grant a permit. All we're going to do is make a recommendation to the building department to allow a permit or not to allow a permit. And we even talk about, and we may get into this, the zoning board, if it's in fact you wanted to do something larger or different, this board can make a recommendation, positive or negative, to the zoning board, and the zoning board can override their own regulations. So we're sort of policing the regulations here, and hopefully the stuff doesn't have to go to the zoning board because, one, it takes a long time, and two, that we can process this sort of paperwork almost immediately through to the building department. So having said that, I think the three of us basically would say the sign is fine. If you want to do something graphically more outstanding, whatever, however you want to put it, basically, the board is willing to maintain or at least listen to that and say, that's a great idea. We've already thrown a bunch of ideas. You might have some, now that we've sort of opened the doorway and you guys talk about it a little bit, you may come up with a different idea that might be equally great. So we're just saying, it could be better. It could be more outstanding, then a good landlord to say, I don't like it. I don't know. That's, I doubt that. Like I say, it's mostly about shadow lines for her. So let's move on to the windows now, all right?
Okay, so that was the last PDF everyone got. That's this one. It has the new cupcake as the 18 to 28 inches.
All right, so I got, in looking at this, you're only allowed about 4 square feet of cupcake area.
Yes,
what-
and the cupcake is 3.5 square feet.
All right, so that would be compliant then.
Okay.
And the window, that window basically, you got the correct dimension, but the other window, you do not have the correct dimension. It's 3'6" by 8 feet high, so it's a different dimension. It's not, the window's not the same size.
8'6"?
3'6" by 8.
Okay.
Right there. The side window. Small window.
How much smaller are you proposing that we go?
10% on that would be 1.85 square feet, almost 2 square feet. And the other thing
That's what I have on the door graphic.
what's that?
That's what we have for a square footage on the door graphic.
Well,
At
I'm talking
30,
I'm talking about the far right-hand panel.
no, I know, but it's basically the same content, so,
Except that we don't allow telephone numbers. What we were looking for is telephone numbers and websites to be on the door.
Okay.
And above the door handle.
well, that's a given, we got it
Okay.
there.
All right.
But, so
and you
then the content could be switched.
So
I
we could
guess.
switch the two and that would be okay?
You mean the one on the door?
Yeah, so having
one
the
on the
door
wall.
graphics on the window and the one on the small window on the door. So the number and
As far as
the
content.
website and everything, all the
Is on the
content
door.
is on the door instead.
Generally, what happens on the door is the door number, of course, because the fire department needs that.
That's on the transom.
Yeah, the top says
Yeah,
the
but I think you're
3
replacing it or something like that. It looks like, at least on the
Yeah,
graph.
we are.
It was something a little nicer.
Yeah,
And then on the door is sometimes the time of day that you're open.
Yeah,
date-
we're probably gonna have like a sign so we can change the hours according to like if there's a holiday. So it's not like, permanently on the window because we don't want anybody getting
Yeah,
confused.
you can put that in the window to one side, changeable paper type of thing. You can put it
Yes.
either side or hang it in the doorway. You can do that, all right?
Yes.
Because that's not a permanent item.
Yes.
I should say that anything within 3 feet of the glass is controlled by this board. So if you have something behind these, all right, it basically could be counted as part of the 10%.
Okay.
So you won't be able to put anything else in this window unless it's temporary, basically, like, so there's you're advertising for a social event in town, all right? That someone comes along and wants to put a sticker or something like that on behind the window or something like that, you can do that, but that's temporary. Has to be taken off immediately. On
Okay.
the door, what we're looking for is telephone numbers, websites, but small. We don't want them shouting because, some people want to put these big numbers. Well, you're driving by in your car. How are you gonna, what good is it?
Yeah.
You can't remember what the telephone number is, never mind the website. It's all pedestrian based. So, you might want to change how you look at what's on that window because it's sort of compatible with the cupcake. So cupcake, the name of the business on one side and the cupcake on the other type of thing, and maybe even make that cupcake a little bit larger. It's within the 10% requirement and leave off all the text because that text is on the doorway.
I think we have the cupcake alone now.
Yeah, we have, if
But no
you look at
text.
the new PDF, the cupcake
Yeah,
is
yeah.
by itself.
Okay.
So
How about the other side though? What do you, I mean,
the
that's-
other side, so we're gonna,
logo.
we'll have the wording, but we'll change that and we'll flip them. So the phone number and the website is on the door and not the window.
okay.
That's it. Just a logo on the other window.
Yeah, and then just the
And the
logo on the
tagline.
other window.
So then all of this would come out to be 10% of the glass area with
Yeah.
correction, on that right-hand one, because it is a smaller piece of glass than the left-hand one.
Yes.
All right. Jeff, Bob? Jeff, wake up.
I'm doing that.
Oh, Bob?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I think it sounds like a plan.
Thank you. All right, I think it's good.
Now, sometimes these meetings are just advisory, for the moment until you come and finally file, but we've talked about a number of little changes here. I would suggest that you refile with us, basically, so we can confirm that everything,
Mhm.
that everything's taken, because this will then, we make a recommendation to the building department, and whatever we will attach what your final documents are to a memo to the building department to allowing them to issue a permit. That goes into a permanent file there, basically, in the building department, and they'll issue a permit to you. Now, if you were, for instance, if you were to want to do something larger, then you end up before the zoning board, which takes you 90 days. And the reason it takes 90 days is the zoning board only meets once to twice a month, depending on which season it is. On top of that, they have to notify all the surrounding businesses within 200 feet. And then after the decision is made by the zoning board, then there's a period of about 2 weeks where anybody can speak up and say, oh, I didn't know about that, blah, blah, blah. So it's a long process. If you can avoid it, you should, basically.
Okay.
So I think, you're on the right path. I think you're doing the right thing. We just need to have final of this so that we can, and
Okay,
maybe
great. Yeah, we can.
it gives you a chance to talk to the landlord too at the same time, get that piece of it straightened out.
All right, so we
Yeah.
can do that.
We can definitely revise it, and I can give you new PDFs of what we discussed here.
Oh, one PDF.
Just-
Yeah,
just
one.
for
Try to
the
make it one PDF so you
Yeah.
don't have so many.
Just for the record, on the door and the right-hand side are both going to be 1.85 square feet? Is that?
Well, I have the door at 1.85
Right. Uh,
and the size is 13 inches by 21 inches. I mean, that's a pretty standard size that we do.
All right, no, I don't, I'm just, for the record, getting the correct dimensions and size.
Yeah,
I
and her
believe,
door's
I
really
believe Jim was
big.
saying that the right-hand side glass does not appear to be 50 by 96, which if it were 50 by 96 yielded 3.26 square feet.
Yep,
Jim was saying he thought it was smaller.
right.
It's 44 by 96.
44 by 96, so the 10%, the usable, I don't know, let me see.
So just so I can, the door language is going on the right-hand side. And the,
You know,
Because we're putting.
The information-
they'd like to have the logo on the right-hand window.
Just because it's the bigger
And
window.
if we're omitting the website and the phone number, she might be able to get a little more width out of it so that it doesn't look like it's the same size as the door if you want them to be different. You know what I mean?
yeah, I'm just trying to write down what the decision was.
Oh,
I have
okay.
no opinion other than to be, I'm trying to take minutes, so I want to know how big the square footage will be on the right-hand pane of glass.
Right, well, now I have to go on to the square footage calculator because,
It'll be 10% of the 44 by 96?
right.
Okay. No, I'm good. Yep, I'm good.
I think it's just under 3 square feet.
4.2? I use the square
The
footage
right- the-
calculator, I don't have it here.
The right-hand window I have at 1.85 square, allowed square footage. It's 10%.
Right, that's what I
The
said.
left hand, the
door.
left hand is 4 square feet, basically, allowed.
Yeah, and we're under there.
Right.
I don't have dimensions on the door except for what they have, basically.
I got 2.9 for the
Thank you.
usable area
Yep,
on the
On
left
which
side.
one?
That
On which
was, it went from 3.26 down to 2.9 with
Yeah.
the 44-inch change. check my math on that, but
Yeah.
that's what I,
So most likely when I go back to when I adjust on the computer in the program, it's gonna be something around, probably we could use about 16 by 24 and at least, and that would give us a little bit more width than the door, just 3 inches.
Okay, I'm just gonna put that we're gonna revisit the door graphics on the right-hand side.
oh yeah, they can show it when they bring it back.
So,
Well, the door graphic, I'm gonna leave it the same size. And I'm gonna put the phone number and the website on the door graphic for you,
right.
like you'd like. And then we're gonna do the logo with the tagline on the right-hand door at 1.8, at 2.9 square feet. And I'll have to tell you what the exact measurements of that are later.
Right.
Sure.
No, that's all I wanted was,
Is that good?
yeah, I was asking, the logo and tagline are going on the right and the website and phone are going on the door.
Yes, and can we still use the logo on the door? Because it fits.
Depends on if it's within the 10%.
I
yes.
mean, as long
Yeah.
as it's within the 10%.
Now, the door number, don't include the door number. I mean,
No, that goes way up on the transom.
yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you. It's automatic, all right?
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
So I think all you gotta do is run all the numbers basically and show us how this thing moves around and like, and if you decide to do something with the wall signage, great. If you don't, great. And so, our recommendations, but I think you know what our recommendations are right now and what you can do better than you did when you walked into this meeting. So if you just sort of clean it up, you can send it back to me and I can just double check it before we have our next meeting. But we should be able to get something probably scheduled next week. And it should be fairly quick if everything's there. And so at this point, these are recommendations. Like we said earlier, or Jeff has said, graphics, if you want to change something about the wall sign, great. If you want it just the way it is, that's also fine because it's compliant.
Okay, so now you're gonna wanna bring this back in front of the board again for the approval, or are we gonna just take your
I think
approval?
that, no, just before us. Yes, this board here.
Oh, all right, so now we're
There's no
gonna
need-
wait.
There's no need because it looks like you're going to be in compliance. There's no need for us to send you on to the ZBA.
Oh,
Okay.
right, but we wanna go and apply for the building permit now.
No, we need something that represents exactly what you're doing.
we
Yeah,
just
so
need
I'll
a
give you that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I come up with that by like tomorrow or the next day, is that we still have to wait till next week?
You're going to have to wait till next week because it will be another public hearing like we have right here. Now, the public's not attending, but if you're at a ZBA meeting, I'll tell you, there's 29, 30 people out there attending the meeting.
So do we need to attend? You guys are gonna look at it amongst yourselves and just give us the final, okay?
Well, one of you can attend if you want. Otherwise, I suppose we can discuss it amongst ourselves.
yeah, maybe they could send us something, in advance,
gonna.
and we could say, yeah, this is what we're looking for, and then it just becomes a,
Well, we're not supposed to deliberate offline though. That's the only problem.
oh yeah, all right.
We
And
can't-
we need a 72-hour notice to advertise and all that stuff too, and set up the Zoom meeting. So,
So like you sent it to us tomorrow, we couldn't do anything about it anyway. We have to advertise it for a meeting time next week. And we have to, since this is a common Zoom number for the town, basically, or at least the site, is we have to find a hole in time to come online, basically do this. And my members here basically also have to come to the meeting. So if, they're working, so unlike me, they are working, so they might have a work schedule that doesn't fit basically when we can get the time. So there's a lot of little nuts and bolts to this whole process.
Okay.
Well, the big thing though is it's a public meeting and we have to have it even if we're completely in agreement with
Yeah.
mhm.
what we
Yeah.
discussed today. Because
Yeah.
someone could say they wanted to be there to speak up and they didn't know about the meeting.
Anybody can join this meeting. And it's okay for the board, for you guys to look at it, but not discuss it. So you guys can submit it to them anytime you want, but they just can't discuss it until we're in this forum.
We only can discuss it in a public forum.
Hmm.
We can send it all around, but we can't discuss it.
And that forum needs 2 days of notice. And so we're
Yeah.
bound by that. It's not like, it's not us that's driving it. It's the
Mhm.
process.
All right, and so you don't know which day yet?
No, no.
All right,
And you got to deal with your landlord anyway, so, you know, and her schedule, and I know the woman, so good luck.
oh, so maybe, well, she wanted to be included in the meeting.
Yeah.
So maybe this would give her a chance to be included if you guys give her your date and,
It's a,
I don't know.
it's a public meeting. She can
Anybody can
get
join.
online anytime she wants, you know?
Okay, so we're gonna make
If you
sure that
wanna
we,
pass- If you want to pass it on to her, that's fine.
right, we
Okay.
will.
I don't know whether it will slow things down, but
I hope not.
I would suggest though that you have all the conversations you want or need to with her, so that when she comes here, it's pro forma. She's
Yeah.
not going to be asking questions of us. You know, you want her on your side, agreeing with whatever you're going to propose to us.
Yes.
Well,
Otherwise,
this is
you're
gonna
have to-
be the final design and hopefully that will be it.
Right, but make sure she's in love with it.
Yeah.
we don't want to have a three-way conversation with, well, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. That's what we just had, basically. It was two-way conversation, so, you know, really. And who knows?
Okay, well, thank you.
All right, well, this looks good. Looks like we're in the right direction. And that's about it, I guess. So anything else that anybody want to bring up before I close the meeting? Good.
If they wanted to enlarge their sign down the road and go to the ZBA, is
Yeah.
there a time frame that they need to keep this one from your approval, or is there anything?
Nope, you can come, anytime in the future, you can say, I want to change the sign, basically, and I want it to be X by Y. We have to deny it because it doesn't meet the regulations.
Oh,
All right,
I see.
Okay.
we have to deny it.
Mhm.
On the other hand, we could make a recommendation that the board, basically the zoning board, allow for it. But we're still relegated to the fact that because it doesn't meet the principles of the code, we have to deny it.
All
But
right,
our letter to the zoning board may say thumbs up or thumbs down, or even make a recommendation that we like it, but, you know,
Yeah.
we would like to see this or that changed. And the board then is totally independent. They can do whatever they want. Now, I'm on the zoning board,
Mhm.
but I generally step aside when it comes to anything signage that I've been reviewing. So
Mhm.
I can
I
only
am-
make a report to them, or that's what I do. I could vote on it, but I tend to stand aside, make my recommendation for representing the board. And then it's up to the zoning board basically to make their own minds up basically at that point.
Okay, and that's for my reference too, thank you.
Yeah, so later on, you are allowed to put up a temporary sign. I think it's like 6 square feet. It's like a banner type of thing, all right? So if you don't open business, if you'll be an open business tomorrow, you could put a banner up in the window temporarily.
No, I think, yeah, they're all right.
So anyways, generally people don't want to spend the money for it and they're not ready anyway. They're still working on opening the building.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for
Everyone,
submitting and
thank you.
asking the right questions. All right, so that's the end of this meeting. We will schedule a new meeting for 386 probably next week. Gail, if we can look to see when we might have holes for meetings, and then let me know and I'll
You
check
guys-
with the other
Yeah,
board.
you let me know and then I'll check it out.
Pretty much wide open, so.
Okay. At 4
Yeah, I'm
o'clock.
good.
any
4
day?
o'clock. I'm good 4 o'clock, I think, every day.
Yes.
Okay,
So I think we can start to look at dates around 4 o'clock next week and see what's available.
so it could be done Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, okay.
All right, I got to look at my schedule. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
That's the end
you.
of the meeting.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Right.
That's not too hard.